Hi there, Andre here from Peak Motorcycles. I'm here in my garage. It's in the middle of February, and as you can probably see from my breath, it's really cold out here. Anyway, this is another of my videos about preparing my R1250GS for a rally event. In this video, what I'm going to be doing is fitting this, and this is a 2-port USB charger that came from a UK company called Nippy Normans. Now, I know that there's various ways you can put USB adapters onto a bike, but for a BMW there is actually a socket that's already there, that's a 12-volt socket that just comes on the bike. I've never actually used mine for anything, and I think everything these days I have runs on USB. So I saw one of these, and apparently I can just unclip the cable from the 12-volt socket, just undo the nut on the back with this comedy spanner that came with the Nippy Normans one, and then just put this in and reconnect it. Should be really straightforward. It then has 2 USB sockets. They're both USB-A, so it doesn't have the newer USB-C, but that's fine, there are adapters. And what I do like is that they've got these rubber covers, so you can actually just use one of them, whichever one you happen to be using. One of them will be a higher current, I think it's like a 2.1 amp, something like that, and the other is just 1 amp. But actually, what I really want it for is to be able to charge the tablet while I'm riding. So yeah, if I'm doing a longer event and I've got the screen on all the time with the Roadbook, that it stays on. So that's the one thing I'm going to fit. The other thing I've got is, rather than connect it with a conventional connector into the bottom, I've actually got some magnetic, it's like a magnetic insert that goes in and then a magnetic cable that goes on. I've heard that these are slightly better at keeping the water out, and they're also slightly more resistant to getting knocked and damaging the connector on the tablet itself. Now, if this is as quick as I think it's going to be, it's barely worth doing a video on. So what I will do is I will use the rest of the video to replace the tyres and the wheels that I have on this bike. So I bought a second set of wheels for the bike. I was looking on eBay for a long time. Rear wheels are very easy to find. Front wheels, they're like hen's teeth. But I did finally find a front wheel that was mostly true. It had a couple of broken spokes, but I was able to replace the spokes, and the wheel trued up pretty much perfectly, and it also balanced pretty much perfectly. So I've got some Metzeler Karoo 4 tyres on those, so I need to replace the tyres on this bike with those. So I'll do that in the end of the video, and I think that will be enough by then. So this is the 12-volt connector here. Now, if you can see on there, it took me a while to get the camera into this location, but hopefully you can just about see it. There's actually a little tab on the connector at the back there, and apparently if I can just lift that up, then that should just pull off the back, and then it's just as simple as a nut on the back of here to come off, put the new connector in, do the nut back on, and connect it up again. This was described in the instructions that came with the USB sockets. It also came with some pictures, but even though the instructions, the text was very good, the pictures were almost impossible to read. So let's just see if this really is as easy as it sounds, and if I can do it with the cameras and the lights and everything in the way. That's the tricky bit now. I can't actually see what I'm doing. I think that's the little tab there. So if I can, I don't know if you can still see that on the camera. If I can just lift that up, it's now whether I can get another hand around it to just pull the connector off the back. Not quite. Maybe I'm not quite lifting it in the right place. Maybe I push it the other way. Let it go now. Oh, there we go. Yep, easy as that. So I don't know if that is still being filmed on the camera, but if you can see, I've just pulled this connector off the back there. So yeah, so that just sits there, and into the end of that is where the USB socket will go. So now I just need to take the nut off the back of here. So to do that, I got this spanner, which Nippy Normans included with the new one. Now I just need to remember which way around when I'm doing it from this side. There we go. That going to come out? I feel like I'm about to break something. I'm going to see if I can have a look at that from the underneath, but I think that should just be on a nut on the back there, and I think doing this upside down, that means I should be turning it clockwise from here. I mean, it's a little bit awkward to get in there, especially if you've got a GoPro in the way, but that is coming loose. So the hardest thing about this is actually getting the spanner onto it. And now that is loose, and that is coming out. So now the trick is going to be not dropping and losing the nut when it comes off the end. There we go. Wow, that was surprisingly easy. So I don't know if you can see that as that comes out. So it's basically, that's the 12-volt bit, and that's the bit that was on the back. You can see it, this is the Nippy Normans connector with a number 1 and a number 2. Like I said, these are independently covered, so you can just lift one off and use the one that you want to use. And apparently, so if I just take that nut off the end, what I'm going to do is see if I can actually reach up from underneath to put that on. I think that might be a little bit easier. Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, should have done that way round right from the start. Actually do that up from behind here as well. That was really easy. So then the last thing is just to pop this connector back on and hopefully it just fits. That's it, easy as that. Now, the next test is to see if it will charge the tablet. Now then, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but this was the magnetic cable I was hoping to use. The problem I've got is that now that this is in this cradle, actually that connector won't push in far enough. So that's no good to me. I'm just going to have to use a regular one. Just going to put that back in here and just plug it in. I will tidy up this cable routing. And that cable just needs to go through. Just going to pop it onto there. And actually, just looking at how these plugs are here, there's the rubber that's over the top actually sits pretty much flush up against the cable, so that when that's in there like that, actually I'll probably need to put it underneath the bar. Then that does actually look like a half decent seal. I know it is out of the weather anyway, but that on there, I do need to do something about that routing. That looks like that would work like that. Yeah, I just need to cable tie that up out the way. Are we charging? So we're not at the moment. Let me start the bike up. Oh, there we go. So yeah, it's switched from the main power, which is kind of nice because that means that it won't be on when the bike is off. You know, maybe with some current drain. But yeah, that looks like that works really well. So yeah, really pleased with that connector. Right then, I think the next thing to do is to do the wheels. Right then, so I'm just going to take the wheel off. Before I put it on the centre stand, I'm just going to loosen the bolts. Okay, those are all loose, and I'm just going to put it up on the centre stand. There we go. So hopefully that is now loose enough so I can just take these off and it will come out. So yeah, you do have to take the caliper off, otherwise you would have to take the exhaust off, and I guess that is easier. Right then, new wheel to go on. Right, it's the very last thing to do, just to do these back up. I've already done them up fairly tight when it was on the centre stand, but just give them another turn now that it's on the floor. I'm not going to do them up as tight as they were with the where I needed the long bar to get them off, because I'm never going to get the tyre off again if I need to do a puncture repair. There we go. Right then, that's one of them done. Now I need to do the front wheel. So to get the front wheel out, there's a couple of pinch bolts, one there, same one on the other side. That nut comes off, and then using one of these, I can just wind the axle out from the far side. What I'll do is I'll loosen the pinch bolts, loosen that off, maybe loosen the axle on the other side, then I'll put it on the centre stand. I'll put just a jack plate underneath the crash guard just to keep the front wheel off the ground, and then I should just be able to take it out easily. I'm not going to talk through this because hopefully, famous last words, this should be quick. It's pretty easy to come loose. I'll not move the camera, but it's the same on this side. And yeah, also just finger tight. That was easy. So now it's that one, which is a 17mm socket. Also came out pretty easily. And then now on this side it's a 19mm, which you can't see. Oh yes, for this one I definitely do need to remove the calipers. Probably should have thought of that first. There we go, that's that one out. They need new tyres on anyway. I've got some new road tyres ready to go. There we go. Cool, that's that in. Right then, do everything back up again. Grand, I think that's it. That is all of that done. So that's it. That's my video about how to fit the Nippy Normans USB sockets to an R1250GS. Mine is a 2020 model, but I believe it's the same for pretty much all of them. I was really impressed at how well that went in and actually how good it looks once it's in there. The other thing I did was I put my new set of tyres, my new set of wheels. I know that's not very exciting, but I was doing it anyway, so I thought I'd tag it on. I think I've got one more video to do in which I'm going to do the handlebars. So that's putting on a set of bark busters and also putting on the ram ball mount so I can switch to my double take mirrors. And then I think I'm all set. Then I'm ready to go out and give it a try. I'll have a go at one of the icebreaker challenge routes from RallyMoto. I'll do a video on that as well, I expect. Hopefully it's not too cold. But I hope that's been interesting and useful. If it has, maybe I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Nearly dropped it. Yeah, dropped it. Oh, you know what? I got that completely wrong. You don't need to loosen the caliper because the wheel is not attached to the caliper. So that was an extra few bolts undoing that I didn't need to undo. You know what? I think I did that last time I took the wheel off. So yeah, my bad for not remembering. Right, I'll just go and do everything back up again.